I just want to validate to you that squats are not that simple. And a lot of people say, oh, we'll start out gentle. We'll just start with an easy body weight squat. Well, I'll be honest, squats are not easy. And they are often one of the things that I tend to wait to teach clients as they're starting to learn what to find and feel in their body. So what I have learned over the years, I have trained over 1,200 women. Most women have tremendous knee pain because their hamstrings and glutes really are so weak. And they also have no sense of how the hamstring and glute is supposed to be working in many aspects of form. So especially in a squat, even though a squat is tended to be more of a quad dominant exercise, but we need our hamstrings and glutes to be able to support us, especially on the lowering, like going down the eccentric portion of a squat. So for this video, if you have not watched other videos such as how to stack, this is extremely important in a squat, because if we try to squat and we are not stacked, in other words, if I'm going down and my rib cage and pelvis are completely misaligned, I am not going to feel things correctly going down all the way to the floor and throughout my body. So the how to stack video is going to be very important, because we tend to see a lot of different problems in squats. Another problem in a squat is having the back very rounded, right? So we're not able to get this extension. But when people try to get their back, because something that is often said for squats is keep your spine neutral. And what does that really mean? So when people think, oh, I need to make my spine look straight, right? Right now my spine looks straight, but I totally lost my stack. And when I lose my stack and I'm trying to keep my back straight in this neutral spine and I go down, people tend to then feel pain or pressure or some type of something doesn't feel right. They tend to feel that in their lower back. So then, or another aspect is people will say, make sure your knees don't go over your toes. It's okay for your knees to go over your toes, but only if your hamstrings, your quads, your glutes know exactly how to work. Because if your knees go over your toes and your hamstrings, quads, and glutes are not working properly, then you're going to have knee pain, and that is going to be a problem. Another thing that contributes to problems in squats is tight ankles, or issues with dorsiflexion in your ankle, the inability for the ankle to properly go into flexion. And I'll explain what that looks like too, because I have that problem in my left ankle. And that actually ended up giving me a problem in my lower back years ago, because my ankle did not have enough dorsiflexion. So all of these things contribute to problems with squats, but as a beginner, there is a clear path that you can take to be able to squat better. But I do suggest to you, before you do anything, make sure that you watch the how to stack video. Also to practice the glute bridges that I put in. There's the beginner playlist, right? So you'll see in the beginner playlist, I would make squats the very last thing that you try to do after learning to activate your hamstrings, after learning to activate your glutes properly, after learning how to stack. After you've learned all of those things, then learning how to squat in the method I'm going to show you is going to make a lot more sense. So here we go into this process, and I highly suggest go back and watch those other videos. Don't just start here. Don't just start with a squat. So I'm gonna say it one more time. Make sure you watch those other videos on how to stack. Another great video that's gonna help you in understanding a squat is actually the video that I have in the playlist on reverse lunges. Because the feeling that needs to be created in order to make a squat really effective, I have found in my experience in working with so many people, is that when I teach the reverse lunge or rear lunge assisted by holding on to a cage, and they get this feeling first on a reverse lunge, it actually makes a squat much easier for them. Granted, I'm here working with them and I use a lot of tactile cueing and assistance for them, so they're able to effectively do this really well. So then it translates very, very easily into a squat. but a lot of times on a single leg exercise, we can tend to feel exactly what it is we're supposed to feel within our leg, which then helps to understand what it's supposed to feel like in a squat. So for clients here in the studio, I use a lot of times a terminal knee extension type of squat. Now, granted, there are other things that we need to always address. Everybody's body is uniquely nuanced in a different way, and we have to take those things into consideration. So for some clients that may struggle with tight ankles, right, we have to work on ankle mobility. For some clients that struggle with hypermobility, right, where their body is looser, we have to work on different things to be able to get them to be able to squat. But for here, using something, and these are pull-up straps basically, and you can order these on Amazon. They have, you know, many different types, but they're this length, approximately like this, and I take them and I put them around, and you can use like a banister at home, you know, of your stairs or something that you have that's like a beam or a pole. It's easy to hook onto, okay? And I have them come into the bands, okay? And this goes back to understanding how to stack, okay? So when they're in this position, and I'll say, pull on the bands, okay? Make sure that you feel that your legs are pulling back a little bit. This is a very supportive feeling, but it also teaches them, because a lot of times when they get the bands on their legs, their body will start to kind of go like this. And I'll say, no, 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 get your heels to the floor. So their heels come to the floor. And then I'll say, now find your stack. Okay, so when they start getting into their stack, so when they feel the tension around their legs, I'll say, take one leg, maybe your right leg, okay? And I just want them to start pulling the band back, right? So this is a terminal knee extension, right? And I'll say, make sure that you start to notice when you pull the band back, right? What happens? So my foot is right now coming off the floor, my heel is coming off the floor, and I'm rolling my heel back. And they'll start to feel the top of their quads. Yes, this is correct, right? So I'm like, you feel the top of your quads. Notice when you want to pull your knee back, a lot of times they want to let go of their stack. If we let go of our stack when we go into a squat, so for example, it looks like this, right? With this big extension here, right? I have no support here in my core. When I let go of my stack, when I go down into a squat, there is a very high probability that that client or you're going to start to feel your knees. Okay, so this is one variation that I'm teaching, right? Because there's going to be a second option on how to go into a squat. And you really have to tune in to what it is that you're feeling. So after the client starts to understand that when they're pulling on the bands, right, they start to feel their quads. And I'll say, ground your feet down into the floor. Feel your heel, your little toe connector where your baby toe connects to your foot, your big toe connector where your big toe connects to your foot. Feel that planted into the floor and make sure you have enough tension on the band. Now find your stack. Okay, this is why the stacking video is so important. So I'll say, okay, now that you found your stack and you found all of this, make sure your feet are about hip width apart a bit, okay? And have them angled out just a little bit, your toes angled out just a hair to the outside, not excessively, but just a little bit, okay? So now I'll say, start to go down. And when they start to go down, one, the band is helping them from falling forward or falling backwards. And I'll say, stop right here. Now notice, do you have your stack or do you have extension? And they'll say most often, oh, I lost my stack. Okay, find it again. Now, go down a little bit more. Let the bands pull you forward a little bit. So the band is pulling you forward. Stop, wait. What do you feel? Okay, what they should be feeling are their hamstrings and glutes. So you feel your hamstrings and glutes a little bit. This is so important on the downward process. Okay, that they feel their hamstrings and glutes. And sometimes they'll start to hold on to the band, which is actually helpful, okay? So now when they come down to this position, okay? And they're feeling their hamstrings and glutes, right? Did you keep your stack? Oh, I'm starting to lose my stack. And that's where we start to lose the neutral spine, okay? Now they're in this position, and I'll say, do you remember, right? We go back to the side lying 90-90, which is in that video, how to stack, how to feel, right? That your shoulder blades are pulled downwards, right? So we're not rounded, okay? This is why the how to stack video is so important, because what you learn as a felt sense inside of that video, inside of that exercise, plays out in your how to squat, okay? So now as they're in the band, in this position, and they're going down, and they're thinking about all of the things that they felt in that how to stack video, and as they go down, now they may be down here, okay? And then the reminder cues, feel your heel, your big connector toe, your little connector toe, that area. Now, as you start to come up, okay, most of the time when people start to come up, they do this one key mistake. They start lifting their chest up. So what they're then doing is forcing their back to go into extension to get them to come up. And that is a mistake. But during this time, they begin to see all the little breakdowns of errors in a squat, right, through this process. So when we're down here, so when you're down in this position, right, and I'll say, do you feel your stack? Make sure you're connected. Make sure you feel that your lower traps are pointing down, right, that we're not like this, okay? And if you have to hold on to the bands a little bit, hold on to the bands, okay? Now, then you're gonna start to come up. As you start to come up, pause, okay? Feel pressure on the back of your bands. As you feel pressure on the back of your bands, I'll say push yourself up off the floor. Find and feel your hamstrings and glutes. Now start pulling the band back. So as you start pulling the band back, and now I'm gonna send my hips a little bit forward, right? So now, by the time they get to the top of their squat, what do they feel? Their quads, their stack, their hamstrings, their glutes, okay? This is such an important process, and a lot of times doing just 6 reps of this, because it takes not only so much thought connection to integration of your body, right, to make you aware of every single thing that you're doing from the bottom to the top, back to the, from the top to the bottom to the top of a squat, right? You want to make sure that you feel every single thing. So let's break it down one more time. You get in your bands, right? You feel some tension on the bands. Don't hyperextend your knees, right? Make sure you stay stacked. If you stay stacked, you're not gonna hyperextend or make your knees come back too far. So stay in your stack, okay? Do your exhale if needed, right? Start going down by starting to push your hips back a little bit. If you need to hold on to the bands, hold on to the bands a little bit, okay? Notice, can you feel your heel connection to your hamstrings, to your glutes, and your stack is in line and your shoulders are in line. You're not rounded, right? So you don't want to try to find your shoulders and lose your stack. You want to make sure that you keep your stack. That's what helps you keep your spine neutral. That's why it's so important to understand how to stack, right? So now, as you go down just a little bit. Don't try to go so far yet. Just wait, okay? Feel your heel, your little toe connector, big toe connector, hamstrings, quads, and glutes. And just feel yourself shift back a little bit if you feel your knees. If you feel your knees, just pull the band back slightly, just a little bit, and you'll notice you're gonna come out of your knees. Now start to stand up. As you're standing up, you're keeping your stack, and start pulling the back of your knees back, right? And push yourself up until we get to the top. And then you should feel everything grounding down to the floor, providing you feel that sense of your stack. If you don't feel the sense of your stack, it's going to be very hard to put this all together, right? After somebody gets it together, then I would say go down, come up slow, start pulling the bands, pulling the bands, pulling the bands, pulling the bands. Okay, and you're gonna start to feel your quads, hamstrings, and glutes work, right? And then you can go down again, right? Feel that pressure, that falling back, so I'm not falling forward. Once you lose tension on the bands, especially as you're going down, most likely you're going anteriorly or too forward falling, that you're not having pressure on your heels enough. We don't want to be 100% pressure on our heels and not enough pressure on the front of our foot. We want to have equal, 50% on the heels, 50% on the front of the foot. Not 75% on the front of the foot and 50% on your heels. So when you get down to the bottom, you should still feel good tension on the bands, okay? And if not, just walk back a little bit, right? You can walk back and be like, oh, okay, there's the tension, right? And I can see even, I'm just making subtle changes and I start falling back. I can even start practicing pulling my knees back just a little, and you're gonna notice that your legs are gonna start to activate. And the legs is what pushes you up, pulling the bands, pushing you up, pulling the bands, pushing you up until you're up to the top. Okay? I'm gonna give you another version. Okay? This other version will help for people that don't feel safe because they don't have something behind them. So by putting something like a tall box or a chair behind them will be very helpfoll. So for people that need to have something supported behind them, so I use this box here, okay? And sometimes I'm short, I'm only like 5'3". I think I used to be 5'4", but now I'm 5'3". But for people who are taller, right? It's very hard. Squats are very hard for people with a lot of leg length, right? And since this is clearly focused on teaching a very beginner individual how to squat, when we get into things that are more complicated with squats, we have to take into consideration length of your femur, right? Pelvis positioning, ankle dorsiflexion, tight ankle issues. Okay, all of these things matter, you know, when we get into especially back squats with weight on us, or, you know, whichever, things that are a little bit more advanced. But right now, for people that are just beginning, and let's say you're a tall person, right, it's hard to get down. And this is a high box, right? But it's still hard to get down and feel everything correctly. So I usually elevate people and I put something a little bit more on top of the box. So if you're at home, right, using a chair, put some books on top, right? Use some books so you don't make it so far to be able to go down, but you do want to feel like you're reaching your hips back towards something. So if we get back in the bands, okay, and I get in this position, and now I'm here, right? And here's my box, right? So again, I'm gonna find my stack. I'm gonna find my heel connection. My little toe, my big toe connector on both feet, so my feet are planted on the floor. I should not feel like I'm wavy on the floor. If I'm wavy on the floor, I am going to wind up going down into my squat and I'm gonna feel something not good, okay? So primarily we have to feel that grounding down into the floor, right? Now I'm gonna go down again. Now make sure when you're here that look at my tailbone, we don't wanna feel like we're tucking under. Once we start to tuck under, good chances are I'm gonna feel my knees, right? So watch my pelvis, right? I have to pull my pelvis back, right? But I have to be able to do this and not lose my connection in my core, okay? In my stack. So once I'm here and I'm in this position, so I'm not here, right? Then I'm gonna be roundy shouldered and sway back, right? I am here. You can see that little adjustment, right? Into my pelvis, and I'm gonna go down, I feel the box, right? Now I'm gonna remind myself of my things. I have to feel my stack, right? My stack isn't up like this, because if I'm here, I let go of my stack, right? So when I'm here, I'll say to clients, exhale. Feel your stack. And if you know what your stack feels like, you'll be okay, right? And then you're gonna come up, push the floor away, start straightening the back of your legs by pulling the band, right? And then they get here, and I'll say just drive your hips a little forward, legs down into the floor, feel your bands, right? Feel your legs pulling against the bands. And then we go down again, okay? and make it high enough, the box behind you, so you don't have to go so far. So when we get here, I feel the box. Do I feel all the things? My heel pressure, little toe connector, big toe connector, my stack, right? My shoulder blades back and my stack. I can't do one of them. I can't do shoulder blades back and no stack. I have to make sure shoulder blades are back and I have my stack. Then I'm going to come back up, right? And I'm going to pull the bands, pull the bands, pull the bands, pull the bands, keep my stack. I should not come up and be here. If I do that, right, everything's going to fall apart. It's kind of like this force transfer that goes up and down the body. Then I lose my force transfer. Okay, so this is one way that you can practice. This is the version 1 that you can practice how to do squats so you have less pain, right? So you're not going into your knees. So this is a very helpful way that I've used in the studio to help clients to be able to stack. Another version is same thing, using your chair. If you don't have bands, I suggest, if you're brand new to squatting, okay, that you do so using something that you can hold on to. So if you have something at home, even a countertop, even a, if you have stair banisters, banisters that go up your stair, you can hold on to those, put a chair behind you, okay? And I also suggest trying to look at yourself. Put your iPhone, we all film each other smiling and taking selfies. Take your first form exercise selfie, right? Put the phone here so you can look back and be like, what did I notice, right? Oh, my back was rounded. Oh, my tailbone was under, all of these things. Make sure you go back and you look at yourself so you can look from the side view. Do one behind you, right? That you have a behind version, right? These things are helpful so that you can assess yourself. In your squat, let's say you're gonna do it without the bands because you don't have bands, you're gonna get your feet hip width apart enough, right? Don't stand like this. I see some of my clients, they'll stand, they're all so like polite, and their knees are down like this. No, unfortunately, we need to be like this, okay? And I never have a client stand or start squatting freestanding, ever. I always either teach them with bands or I teach them with an assisted way here, because most people cannot feel their hamstrings and glutes freestanding, just like this, right? They have a really hard time getting into their hamstrings and glutes, which is why, again, I direct you back to the beginner playlist. Go through the hamstring and glute exercises and the how to stack exercises. It will make your squat so much easier. So let's say, assuming you did all of those other things, right? Those other exercises in the beginner playlist. Now you're gonna hold on, okay? You're gonna be in this semi-bent position here, right? And you're gonna take a breath in, exhale. Think of your side lying 90-90, how that felt. So I feel my heel, little toe connector, big toe connector. I feel my hamstring. I feel my glute. I feel my stack. And I'm gonna start to lower down slowly. As I lower down, I'm thinking to myself, don't touch the floor. Don't touch the floor. Imagine, right? There's a bunch of like little pins here and we can't touch the pins, right? So we want to resist the feeling. We don't want to just let our body weight push us down, right? And kerplunk, right? Get to the bottom. We want to be able to resist. Now, I should be holding on. If I'm holding on and I feel my knees, just start shifting back a little bit, letting your body fall back. And you're gonna need to hold on in order to do that, because if you don't, most likely if you let go, you're gonna start to fall back. But that's actually a good thing because you're starting to use your posterior chain in your squats. And the lack of a posterior chain, which is the back side of you, the lack of a posterior chain is what makes knees hurt. Okay? It is not the only cause for knees hurting. There are other reasons. Loss of cartilage, right? Knees that don't track correctly, right? Weak vastus medialis or quad muscles or vastus lateralis. There's so many different reasons for knee pain, but again, the over 1,200 people I have worked with, most of them have improved their squat tremendously when they really worked on their hamstring and glute strength. And then they were able to control the aspects of what is needed as they're going down into a squat. So when they're going down into the squat, as they're going down, I would say, do you feel your glutes, right? And if they're like this, they'll be like, no, I don't feel my glutes. How do we get to feel your glutes? How do we push your pelvis back? You can see my pelvis moving right now, okay? It's moving back, and then they'll say, oh, now I feel them, right? There is no way they would be able to do that just freestanding, doing this, right? Taking someone from the very beginning who has never squatted before. They are not going to be able to stand up, freestanding, and move their pelvis the direction that it needs to go in without feeling like they're gonna fall, okay? So holding on helps you to not have to think about just staying upright while trying to make these little nuances with your pelvis so that you get out of your knees, okay? So when we're in this position, again, feet hip width apart, toes turned slightly out at like a 20 to 30 degree angle. When I go down and I get here, I'm gonna hold on a little bit. Then I'm gonna start to adjust. How do I adjust my pelvis? A little bit. And if we did the how to stack video, you would understand that, right? And then I sit down and I wait and I don't release the pressure. Don't just sit. Now feel my feet planted into the floor. Feel my hamstrings. Feel my glutes. That's what starts to push me up. Push up slow, really slow. Then I'm gonna start to pull the back of my knees back, right? And when I pull the back of my knees back, that makes me stand up upright, right? And I'm gonna ask myself at the top, am I in my stack or am I extended and let go? I should be in my stack. So then I can repeat again. As I go down, my knees start to bend a little bit and I'm gonna start to push my hips back, right? I'm pushing my hips back because I'm looking for that chair, okay? And then I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna let myself fall back just a little, just enough to feel my hamstrings and glutes and ask myself, do I feel my hamstrings and glutes? Do I have my stack? I do, okay? And then I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna use those hamstrings and glutes to push me up. And then I'm gonna get to about this point, and now I'm gonna have to say, pull the back of my knees back, push the floor down, right? And then I start to feel my quads, okay? This is a good way to start to learn how to squat. But really, it involves being able to purposely activate all of those other aspects of your hamstrings and glutes on purpose, which is why doing a banded donkey kick and understanding how to control your stack in a banded donkey kick, how to do a hamstring foam roller, how to do a hamstring bridge. Because once you understand how to feel those muscles, you will be able to then recruit that feeling and add it to your squat. So using either a banded squat or a chair-supported seated squat, okay, could be extremely helpful for beginners. And I would suggest to people, once you get the feeling right, doing 3 sets of 5 squats with actual good intention and making sure that you're feeling everything correctly could be hugely valuable in terms of building strength. Doing 3 sets of 15 just to say you did 3 sets of 15 that had no intention behind it, no understanding of the squat, really is not really beneficial, because even though we're doing the exercise, right, we're doing something, but if we want to be able to teach our body the right way to do it and to be able to actually strengthen what needs to be strengthened, there has to be some thought behind it, which is why my studio's named Think, right? Because we actually have to think. Anybody can just go up and down without thinking, right? But to be able to actually be able to do an order of operations for your body of what's supposed to be working when is hugely important, right? So then when you do those other exercises, hamstring foam roller, hamstring ball curl, the glute bridges, right? All of those things, the sideline 90-90 and the how to stack. Once you understand how to feel what it is you're supposed to feel, then you're going to be able to do that in your squat, which is a big movement. It's a compound movement. And social media makes it look so simple. They'll say, hey, everybody, let's just do, okay, we're going to do 3 sets of 15. Here we go. Okay, start breathing, right? I remember years ago, I taught group fitness, right? Many moons ago. I'm 52 now, right? But when I was in my mid-30s, I taught group fitness, and I'd look around, I'd be like, nobody's doing any of this correctly, right? They're just barely getting by. And then, oh, my knee hurts. Can I have a modification? I'd rather say, no, let's fix your squat. Okay, let's fix it so that you can actually do it. You're not going to be able to do it to the tempo of music, right? Not yet. Not that there's any great achievement in doing that, but you're not going to be able to do it to the tempo of music. You're going to have to think, okay? So getting pull-up straps, okay? They sell them at Amazon. I'll put a couple links of ones that I think are good in the description below. They're not expensive, right? A chair at home, some type of something you can hold on to, and go slowly. Okay, go slowly in feeling these things, and go back to the videos in the playlist. That is why I put these things up there, right? So we have access to this. So I would suggest you do all of the other videos in the playlist before you even attempt the how to squat, because it is not as simple as society makes it seem. And you are not a failure, okay? It's just that these things are not taught basic little tidbits, step by step. Okay, and to really tune in so you know what it is that you're feeling. Okay, so I hope that this video helps you. If it does, again, please like, subscribe, and share, because it does help other people. And if you do that, it helps YouTube understand that, oh, these videos go to people who are really interested in learning from the basic beginning. Right? Because there really isn't a lot of content out there for that type of person. It's geared towards people who have already started or at a mid-range, right? There's not that much content out there on how to start from the very beginning. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions or you find something difficult, please let me know in the comments, because I will address that. I will go back and make a video on how to answer your question, right? So that you can understand how to do that. Thanks so much. Bye.